Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. Hi, this is Sister Yaffa. Thank you so much for tuning in to get a little insight and some clarity in concepts. Unfortunately, we will not be joined this evening by our host, Sister Nova. We're going to miss her melodious voice, bringing us in and up to speed. It's going to be all me this evening. I don't know anything about the chat room, so I won't be responding to those types of things. I have been informed to advise everyone listening that the individuals running the show were very frustrated with some of what they felt was disrespect in the chat room last Thursday, particularly in reference to people that are new to the information, that have not been made familiar with it, and they're just trying to get clarity and find out what's going on. They don't want you saying things in the chat room like hurry up and, we don't want to hear from you and things like that. I understand that you may not want to hear from some of the callers or whatever, but they have questions and they need to get clarity. So what I'm probably going to do this evening is refrain from taking questions unless I say, anybody want to come in with a question, at which point I guess you can raise your hand and it will be mentioned to me that there is a question. But I don't want to go into questions too much because I don't want to get derailed on this subject matter. However, if you just have to ask a question, that's great, but try to keep them brief and short and try to get to the point of what the question is. And more than that, when I hear what your question is and I finally do begin to answer it, make every effort to refrain from talking over me so that you and the listeners don't hear what my answer is to your question. What I want to cover this evening, because we're trying to get get clear about the nationality business, but the problem that I am having is we're not going to be able to move forward until we do a Sankofa. And I've been accused of, our people are always staying in the past. We keep moving in the past. You have to look back at the past in order for you to successfully move forward into your future. And what I'm getting ready to give you guys tonight, you guys thought people were angry with me when I did the whole Moorish American thing. A whole lot of people are probably going to be angry with me tonight when I'm done with this one because there are some things that need to be brought out. One thing I want to bring out before we get into nationality and me attempting to give you who the scholars are is the conscious community, or what is called the conscious community, in my personal opinion, is not conscious at all. You're not awake. People that are conscious are not attached to any kind of religion, and they are not stuck in any type of dogma or belief system. People that are awake are on a journey for information. They are looking for the truth wherever they may find it. Now, if you cannot handle truth because it's contrary to your dogma or contrary to your religion or contrary to your belief system, then you are not really awake and conscious at all. You are in the process of awakening and you're attempting to awaken, but until you separate yourself from the traps, you're not awake. Now, I have to say this because it just needs to be said. And this is going to alienate a lot of folk with me, but I have to do what I got to do. That's all I can do. I have figured out what the secret is, and I have figured out what the problem is and who and where the problem is, so I'm going to give it to you guys. First of all, you guys that are in the whole Egypt thing, I got news for you. If you're in the Christian thing, I got news for you. If you're in the Hebrew Israelite thing, I got news for you. If you're in the Moorish Scientific thing, I got news for you. If you're stuck in any kind of dogma or you're following too closely behind anybody you consider a prophet, then I have news for you. Now, back in the day, you have to remember, there is an entity moving on the globe that has gone around the world and basically usurped everybody's position. They did what my sister Mahat and I call Jacobian moves, because the word Jacob or Yaqub means to supplant. Jacob is a supplanter. A supplanter is one who uproots someone else, usurps their position, and steps in and claims to be the people that they uprooted and supplanted and replaced. Now, this has occurred all over the planet. And the reason I have to bring it up is because all of your religious dogmas are put out by these supplanters, all of them. Even the people that are following the United Nations thing, all this stuff is going to get you in trouble. Everything that you're trying to use to free yourself is going to lead you down a path to tragedy. Christianity was first. It kind of usurped the Trinity and the Triune or whatever of Kemet, or what people call Egypt. Now, there is a faction. There's a word that my sister and I found the other night, and it was really, really deep. And the word is tribe. All my people are talking about you're the tribe of this and you're the tribe of that. You better understand and know for a certainty that you are not of any type of tribe, and the people that were found in the Americas, for the most part, are not tribal. The word tribe means inbred. If you are a part of a tribe, that means you are an inbreed that has practiced incest to the point that you have lost your mind and lost your color. So, if you think you're a part of a tribe, you may not want to continue to listen to this because I'm probably going to insult you. Now, there is a people that were very, very tribal. Back in the day, and I'm not going to go way back, but I'm going to go way back enough to mess a lot of you up about your beliefs. Back in the day, when what is currently called the Roman culture, and you know I keep talking about this Roman Catholic Roman thing, when they were small and they had these little pockets of agricultural people around, and I'm not sure if these were melanin-rich people or not. I'm going to assume that maybe they were, but who knows. In this particular culture, the fathers were like the priests. Now, I'm going to mess you up here, so you might want to take some notes. Get your pencils out, get your papers out. If you have Strong's Exhaustive Concordances, they should probably be nearby in arm's reach. If you have a good dictionary, it should probably also be somewhere nearby in arm's reach, because these are things that you need to know. Now, in this particular culture that some people call Roman Catholicism, or in Rome, the father was the priest of the family, and they would practice something called Saturnalia. And a lot of us know what that's amongst the many other things that they would practice. Saturnalia was one of the things that they practiced, and that was a whole drunken type of orgy. And this was a practice that was led and headed up by the fathers, and they practiced these type of rituals with their sons and their daughters. Okay? Now, because of this particular lifestyle and practice, and I know you guys are like, well, where's she going with this? I'm going somewhere with this because we can't move forward as a people until we look back at this. Now, these fathers would be the head priests, and they would practice these tribal, incestual rituals with their sons and with their daughters. Now, one of the things that they did was, over time, these individuals that were the heads of the household were considered the priests of the family. Eventually, these little pockets and little clans begin to coalesce into tribes, meaning this little household started practicing these Saturnalia rituals and what have you with the next household and the next family. And they grew and grew like that. Ultimately, over time, what you guys currently call the Roman family became technically all one inbred bloodline. Now, this is what was really deep about how that mess went down. The Pontifex Maximus, which you guys call the Pope, is their president. He's the president and the head father of that whole inbred family. They were all one and the same bloodline. They had practiced all these incestual rites of passage or whatever the case may be. And one of the things that was done is they called these, when their daughters would participate in these things, they called them Vestal virgins, but they weren't really virgins. All that basically means is they were prepared to do whatever it was they were supposed to do. One of the things that they would do is they would do ceremonial rituals where they used the entrails and intestines of animals and the flight of birds to do divination. Now, what you guys call Rome, they were involved in utilizing everybody's religious doctrine. Whatever the doctrine was, everybody used it, okay? Now, in the earliest periods of this particular state, because it went from being these individual pockets of families to being one big inbred state where the Pontifex Maximus was the head father over these inbred families, because ultimately they became one family by blood through incestual inbreeding. Now, their trinity was Jupiter, Mars, and the Quirinus, because these individuals were people that followed the gods of war. Jupiter and Mars were gods of war. Jupiter is like a god of the heavens and the earth, or heavens and the weather, and he's supposed to be the supreme god of the Romans. And one of the names that you guys know him as is Zeus or Jesus, and now people say Jesus, what have you. The other god was Mars, who was a god of war. You know him as the Greek god Ares. But they had gotten so crazy with it that as they went on and picked up all the other religions from all the other cultures around the world, including the books of the Sibyllines, or the Sibyls, which they acquired from Greece, they determined that they were going to go out and take over the whole planet. And they do a lot of that with what they call feudalism. And what I wish my sister was on this line, because she has a better memory than I do. There is a term that I wanted to share with you guys last week. I think it's called feudal judgment or something like this. Maybe she'll call in and help me out with this one. But what we're under right now, these people went everywhere as their inbred incest family. And some of the individuals, you have to remember, there are different factions of loss of sanity. When you start practicing excessive incest, you start to lose your mind. But there are different levels of mind loss, or different levels of psychopathy and sociopathy. So one of the things that happened is they had a group that was a lot more crazy than the rest of them. And then there were those that wanted to get away. You always have people that, as children, don't like people doing these types of things to them, so they want it out, and then you wind up with these differing factions, but they've already started going around the world conquering everybody, as Rome, as Alexander, as Judeo-Christianity, as all these little religions are things that they set up. They set up, or should I say, I don't want to say set it up, they turned Christianity to something real crazy. They turned Islam to something real crazy. And actually, Muhammad was manufactured by the Pope, by the Vatican. He was probably one of their little catamites that they let loose back in the society, like I keep trying to tell people the kinds of things that they do. Now, the thing that we're calling democracy is really a demonocracy. And a demonocracy is defined as the power of government, or the power or the government of demons. And in the New Testament, it is supposed to be spiritual beings which vexed and tormented men. The word, however, in modern use signifies an evil spirit or genius, which influences the conduct or directs the fortunes of man and mankind. Now, that's one way that they screw everybody. they have gotten power of the land and the resources, and now they have control of all the wealth. And what they are here to do is to lead you astray in direct acts of hostility and enmity against Creator, creation, and Creator's creatures. Because when you commit a crime and you do something that is a problem, if you commit a crime against an individual, that's just a crime. When you do something heinous against society, that is considered a sin or an act against Creator or a deliberate affront against Creator. Now, having sex with children is an act that destroys society because you create somebody that has mental problems and then you release them into society and they impact everybody they encounter in society one way or another, and usually it's not always good. If you have sex with animals, you are creating an act against nature. Now, when I was a teenager, I looked up this word buggery before, to be a bugger. I thought it was only about sodomy and rear entry practices. But my sister looked it up in our 1828 dictionary, which I had never done. And in the 1828 dictionary, the definition of buggery is unnatural acts with people and animals and with children and animals. See, that is more of it. That's more of the problem than anything else. And most of these religions, that's what they're about. So-called Judaism, following the Talmud. And, of course, it's not every single individual in Christianity, and it's not every single individual in Judaism, and it's not every single individual in Islamism. But if Muhammad married a 6-year-old child and started having sex with her at the age of 9, that's a problem. If the Vatican is notoriously repeatedly brought up on charges for molesting children and moving the priests that molest children so they can go and molest other children, that is a problem, especially since that is the head of all Christianity. If the Jews, or what people call Jews, following the Talmud, believe that it is okay to have sex with a little child up until the time that when it's their children, up until the age of 3 years old in one day, if it's our children, any time is good, that's a problem. So I'm saying that when people start following in these belief systems and following these religious patterns, they need to comprehend what they're looking at. Prime example, a lot of our people are always saying things like, we're the Moabites and we're the Canaanites. One of the few things I disagree on with a lot of people. Moabites are the people who Lot's daughters got him drunk. Both of them had sex with their father under the influence of alcohol, not once, but a few times, and had children with him and created the Moabite nation. Now, you guys can be Moabites if you want to. I'm not one of them, and that is where I disagree. I'm not a part of the inbred incestuous community. Now, the other thing, a lot of our people are saying things like, we are Canaanites. Well, Canaan was supposed to be the fourth son of Noah that was cursed with pale skin. Canaan, the root word of that is can and canis and kin. That means to be pale or reddish-white in color. That means to be one that practices cannibalism, which we know all people that are reddish-white in color don't do that. It also means to be dog-like or have the mentality of a dog pack, like a canine. So if you want to be a Canaanite, then you can be that. But my suggestion to you is, before you start claiming to be certain things, that you look considerably more deeply into the things that you are claiming yourself to be. Now, for those individuals that are always saying, we're not Americans, or you're not American, that's okay if you're not one, because you probably aren't. Because remember, when we were here, some brothers came from what you call Africa first. They got here and found us here. Europeans came later. But when they all got here, we were already here. So people that say we're not American, you may not be. You may be part of the Africans that came here. You may be a part of some other stock of ethnicity that has come here, because people have come from all over the world to here. So when you say you're not an American, you're very emphatic about it, that's okay. You probably are not one of us. Now, keep in mind also, we here north of the border had not called ourselves really anything. The brothers and sisters that came over here from what you currently call Africa, they are the ones that named the vicinity of South America Ta-Meri and Amerita and America. But by definition, it fits us as copper-colored people. So that's what we should work with, but I'm not going to have that discussion anymore. I'm not going to argue with people any further about it, but I'm going to say this to you. The so-called, what you're calling Jews or Judaism, was a temporary dispensation. It was only temporary. They were given authority. Oh, well, first of all, you need to know what a dispensation is. A dispensation is licensed to do something that is forbidden by law. They were given a temporary right to do things that are forbidden by law. Things like, I don't know how many of you guys are aware of it, but a lot of people that you're calling, well, actually, you know what? I got something better that's going to break some of you guys up from bad habits. Before I go into that, let me give you guys this information about Canaan. Canaan, the area you guys currently call Palestine, that was originally called Canaan, the land of the Philistines. Now, Canaan, the earliest known inhabitants of Palestine were Neanderthals. So those of you that look like me, that think that you're a Canaanite, you need to do some additional research. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm trying to clarify your thinking and give you information and insight about things and words that you may not know about because you probably haven't looked them up, or maybe you didn't know how to look them up. Now, to get your clarity, you're going to need to look in several different dictionaries. You're going to need to look in old encyclopedias, and you're also going to need to utilize your Strong's Exhaustive Concordance to look these things up so you can find out what I found out. Otherwise, I'm just going to be talking to you. Now, before Palestine was Palestine and the Philistines, it was Canaan, and it didn't stop being called Canaan until after Joshua invaded it, okay? So you guys need to make sure that you're really clear on that, because Alexander the Great conquered Palestine. But the first known inhabitants that were there were classified as Neanderthals. I don't think that that's you guys. Now, you need to understand that canines, I don't know how many people have seen the movie The Omen, but see, a lot of these movies drop stuff. The movie The Omen, I don't know if you remember in Omen how they were saying that Damien was born of a jackal. Damien was born of a jackal. A jackal is a part of the canine family. Canine is defined as of or like dogs, characteristic of dogs, jackals, wolves, hyenas, coyotes, and foxes. A dog. And it comes from the word canis, which means white or fair, to be white. Now, that's certainly not trying to attack anybody, but if you think you're a Canaanite, if you don't look like that, you should probably rethink everything that you're claiming. Now, I know I'm putting a bunch of holes in a lot of people's bubbles, but there was a Greek goddess called Hebe, and I may be mispronouncing it, spelled H-E-B-E. Hebe was a Greek goddess of youth. Now, keep in mind, for those of you that have been to my website, if you've gone to the definitions page in my website that defines certain words, the word Greek comes from the word graikos, which means gray. You know, people say, oh, it's the aliens, the reptilians, and the grays. The word gray means white or pale in color. So I'm saying that to say these are things that are not necessarily about you. It's not going to be your story, so don't get it confused. Now, Hebe was a Greek goddess of youth, the daughter of Zeus and Hera, you know, if you're buying into these stories. Now, she was the cupbearer of the Olympian gods. Now, if you comprehend that a cup is symbolic of a womb or an orifice for sexual entry, then you can keep up, okay? So when they start talking about cups and swords, like with the cards, a deck of cards, you have the swords and you have the cups, or what they call spades and hearts. Those are swords and cups. Swords are symbolic of penises and phalluses. Cups are symbolic of wombs and yonis. So she was a cup bearer, which means she brought the cup for use by the Olympian gods. Now, she was replaced by Ganymede, which was supposed to be a very beautiful young boy. So if Ganymede replaced her as the cup bearer, you know what orifice they were using as the cup bearer, okay? So you have to comprehend we're dealing with, as I've said many times before, a child molesting, pederastic, pedophiliac, homosexual culture by nature. But it's not even as much the homosexuality as much as it is the molesting children, molesting animals, and more than that, this whole blood drinking and flesh eating, which they always talk about in Roman Catholicism and Christianity when they say things like, we're going to drink the blood of Christ and we're going to eat the flesh of Christ. There are people that do not comprehend when someone is just using an analogy. A lot of people take this stuff literally, especially when they have no sanity left, okay? When you lose your mind, you do things that just don't make any sense whatsoever. These individuals, that's why all these children come up missing all the time. And, you know, when you think back about things, you will start to see where you saw things that happened and you didn't know what you were looking at because you didn't know how to look for what you saw because nobody explained any of this stuff to you before. But, you know, my baby brother is now no longer with us. And when he was really small, he came to stay with me when I was going to Chico State University in Northern California. Now, in retrospect, I think something happened to him. I had a next-door neighbor. I lived in one of these complexes. Chico State is north of Sacramento, which is a very predominantly so-called European place. To my left apartment was an Arab brother who used to always try to tell me, we're the same people, me and you were the same. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I didn't get it. To the right of me, there was a European guy that took a liking to my brother, who was little. He was about maybe 7 at the time, 8. It didn't dawn on me that anything was wrong because I wasn't wise enough or sharp enough to know anybody. I was a teenager. I was stupid and blind. But he took a liking to my brother, who would go over there and hang out with him. And I know one time he said he wanted to take him fishing or something like that. And I didn't think much of it. And one time I went over there, you know, this is a while back. I'm just looking back in retrospect. I went and knocked on the door one day to get my little brother to come home so he could eat. And when the dude opened the door, he had on a robe with must have been boxer shorts or something. The whole robe was wide open and everything, and it just didn't register. I didn't like what I saw, but I didn't know what I was seeing. But either that night or shortly after that, my brother started urinating the bed. So, it didn't dawn on me. I whipped him. So I'm saying that these things I'm saying to you guys so that you can begin to see what it is that you see. When your children go off with people, and a lot of our people are spending a lot of time trying to defend this whole melting pot mentality. Because someone was saying last show, aren't they trying to create a colorless society? I would say we don't need a colorless society. I'm not saying we should be stuck on color, but it is the infiltration of this inbred family that grew so large that they became their own state. And they're still one of the most powerful states in the world. And their people are all over the world, scattered over the world, with orders to go out against Creator and infect and destroy all of humanity. So if you comprehend the whole concept of what's going on, then you'll get it. A lot of these people these children are disappearing because people are kidnapping them. In the cases of our children, they're adopting them, and a lot of these children are being tortured and tormented and raped, molested, sodomized. They're being bled and used as cupbearers, because one of the things that a cupbearer is also good for is being a source of blood for people that drink blood. So if you want, I don't know if you guys recall, a lot of the things that we saw and didn't see. Many people have seen instances where brothers were boiled in oil, brothers were hung, lynched, brothers were burned alive. A lot of people are not even aware of the fact that a lot of these people, this was a picnic, and they would do this stuff with the whole family around, all the children and everything around. That is not sane to subject your child's mind to this type of stuff, but it began over there. They started going crazy on their own people first, and then they brought it everywhere else around the world and made everybody crazy all over the globe. Now, frequently, when we would find our brothers, their phalluses would be missing. That's supposed to be one of the best parts of the body to eat for people that are into that kind of shit. Jeffrey Dahmer was not the only person running around the United States that eats people and holds on to body parts. That is a very heavy practice, and that's why I was telling you guys to get that book called Lucifer Dethroned, because I wanted you to hear it from a European, telling you the kind of stuff that is going on, so that you wouldn't think that I'm crazy, because I know everybody thinks I'm crazy. It's like, Yaffa, you sound like a racist. How in the hell am I a racist? I have what you call so-called white relatives. How could I be racist? What I'm saying to you is there are people that look like us that are no longer sane, but they're the minority. There are people that look like them that are sane, and they're the minority. So I'm saying all this to say this whole trying to be one big happy family, it's never going to work because the belief systems are so different. Even though we have people now that do this type of stuff, the molestation, the incest, and the raping of the relatives and this kind of stuff, that was not our culture prior to their arrival, but that was their intent. They were given the temporary right to go around the world and do this stuff to damage everybody to prove a point. And the point is, they're no better than us. They do the same thing we do. They murder people. They commit incest. They commit rape. They molest children. They're no better than us. Why are they so special? But some of their people are sick of it, and we need to wake up and get sick of it too. But they don't know what to do because, remember, in their culture, they can and do get murdered for trying to come out and tell, even though this is their own blood, their own kin. These so-called Vestal virgins that didn't do what they were supposed to do, they could be buried alive in Rome. And they would hang out at the so-called church for 30 years. They had to be there for 30 years to be available for sexual use if needed, and they would call them Vestal virgins, which means act like you're chaste and appear to be chaste, but you're not. A lot of people are not virgins if they've had sex. And again, we're talking Saturnalia, and like I said, the father would do this with his sons and daughters. This is how they get down. This is their get down. A lot of their people got tired of that, and when they disagreed, they were impaled. They were boiled in oil because they were being eaten. They were tortured. They were tormented. They were cut to the four winds, and they would do this type of practice in front of the whole family as if they were at some kind of movie theater or party. These are people that, have you guys ever heard of Amen? I'm gonna mess with some more people. You guys the Christians like to say their prayers, and when they're done saying their prayers, it's all about amen, amen, amen. The Ammonites were crazy as hell. They were so not sane that they lost it all. They began burning their own children in cauldrons, and I don't know how many people have heard of Bohemian Grove, where they show these very wealthy people and these high-ranking politicians and all these people running around, this owl standing out, and they show them sacrificing a little brother man. They always kill a little brother man, a little boy, a little male child of melanin richness to do this. But they have to do this because that is what they're about. Now, my sister was bringing to my attention, one of my sisters, to my attention, that the owl is their new symbology for an Amen, because with Amen, they used to have the statue that had like the goat horns, or not goat horns, my bad, ram's horns. And the owl, the ears sticking up on the owl are kind of similar to the ram's horn. But one of the things they do is they burn people whole and burn them alive. That's what the word Holocaust means. The word Holocaust means to burn whole. It was their culture to burn their own children whole. Now, these are the people that are inbred, and when they talk about the so-called Jewish Holocaust, it was not these people that you call Jews that were being burned whole. It was a sacrifice, and in that sacrifice, they were murdering melanin-rich people, burning them whole. That's what Holocaust means. That's one of the definitions also, Catholic. The word Catholic or Catholic means to take down the whole. They are trying to take out everybody. They don't care anymore about what color. They don't care anymore about what age. They don't care about what gender. All they know is if you're not a part of their inbred family, they don't care about you. And too many of our people are trying to be like this crazy family, because one of the things that they bring out in the book of Leviticus is the pale skin with golden yellow hair is supposed to be considered unclean. And a lot of our people have been so stuck on following this new look when these people should have been trying to become darker, but some of them want to stay crazy. Instead of us being melanin-rich and copper-colored, a lot of our people became so self-hating because they were following this misleader that led them astray. They were following demons, also called Duse, D-U-S-E and D-E-U-S. Same word, just transliterate the letters a little bit. Duse is a demon. It's about leading people astray. And one of the things they're doing is trying to get you gung-ho on being light and bright and white and blonde. There are a lot of what you call so-called white people that are not even blonde. But if you see them on Hollywood, you see them on the street, they have their hair bleached out because everybody's trying to look like something that is supposed to be something that's not the way it's supposed to be. So I'm saying this to say, while we were on this self-hatred, we became a people who are no longer grasping our copper coloring. We're on this whole, well, you know, I'm light and I'm bright and I'm better and I'm prettier and my hair is straight and my hair is blonde and this and other. You know, have our entertainers out there are bleached up now and bleaching their hair out now, and it's not their fault. I'm not beating up anybody. Misinformation is misinformation. And you could take or leave the information that I'm giving you, you know, especially if you're light-skinned. I know you're being insulted, but it ain't your fault that your parents got on the whole, I have to be lighter than a brown paper bag so I can be in a Greek sorority. Greek means pale. So they had to become pale to be a part of it. But this whole Greek sorority thing or this Greco-Roman thing is all about this whole incest, inbreeding, and going crazy. And having said all of that, I know somebody's got a question. Okay, I guess nobody has a question. All right, now, this Abel, you know, people talking about Cain and Abel. Cain meant like Canaanites, Canaan, Canis, white in color, reddish white in color. Abel isn't what you think either. I did some additional research on that word. It means emptiness and vanity. It also means something transitory and unsatisfactory. That's what Abel means. Now, it goes on to say vain and altogether vain, and that's Hebrew word 1892 in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. Now, you also have where it says that word comes from Hebrew word number 1891, which means to be vain in act, word, or expectation, specifically to lead astray. Okay, hold on. Somebody's... Oh, I thought somebody was sending me a question via text message, but they were just laughing out loud. Where was I? Let me just see here. I got my notes here because I'm trying to wake you guys up about who we are and who you are. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that everybody that's light-skinned or white-skinned or that has been led astray is bad. I'm saying we have to come to a point in our evolution so that we can resurrect and remember, which is to reattach your members. We are like a scattered, for lack of a better word, Osiris. You got to get the parts like so-called Isis did and reattach the parts and reattach the members so you can remember. Once you remember, then we can be resuscitated, and then we can be restitched together and get restitution. We can be restitution. We have to get it together. If you cannot look back and accept what's going on in Sankofa, or to revert in a reversion to see what your ancestors went through, to see where you are, you cannot possibly move forward and know where you're going, okay? Now, I'm saying, I found something else out here. It says here, and I can't remember if this is a concordance or dictionary. I've been looking at a lot of books, but the Canaanites are Semitic people that were conquered by the Israelites. Now, who those were, don't start asking me. I know a lot of brothers go, oh, no, we the Hebrew Israelites. Well, I don't know. Dr. Suzar has a book out called Blacked Out Through Whitewash, where it says in no uncertain terms that Hebrews or Habiru's are them, not you. So maybe there's a difference between a Hebrew and an Israelite. There's obviously a difference between a lot of these things that we thought we knew and didn't know because we speak a language that we do not comprehend. Now, I was trying to figure out who Judah was and Jehudah was, and I got to looking at that. This term Jew, J-E-W, there are two different definitions for Jew. One of the definitions for Jew is Judah. One of the definitions for Jew is Judas. A Judas is someone treacherous enough to betray a friend. So when you run around saying that you're a Jew, you might want to make sure you understand completely what that is. You can call yourself what you want to call yourself. You can say what you want to say, but I'm saying know what you're saying and why you're saying it. Know what you're doing and why you're doing it. I'm looking at some more research that shows that the Hebrews, and by that was meant Jews, profited from the decline of the new empire in Egypt. So again, who are these people? I'm starting to wonder if these are these people that were sent out around the world. I don't know how many people saw this movie called Queen of the Damned. In the movie Queen of the Damned, one of the things that they showed for these vampires was how their bloodline was connected and how they had been watching their people all over the world, and they had a whole bloodline train of lineage to see where everybody is and where all their bloodline has gone. They know that better than we do. They have a better grasp on ancestry than we do. Unfortunately, if you want to know who you are, you kind of got to go to them, to the Moorish Science Temples, not Moorish Science Temples, the Mormon Tabernacles and whatever, the family history centers, to get your information from these people that know more about you than you know about yourself. And there's a reason for that. They're trying to steal your heritage. Now, everybody keeps talking about there's one race. I submit to you there's not one race. And I'm going to give you some words, and you need to write these words down so that you're clear on what you're not. You can say we're all one race and we're all one people if you want to. I know that means things like generic, like saying, oh, yeah, black people, this and that. I know who you're talking about, even though I know it ain't us, but I know who you're talking about. A parent or an original progenitor is called the stock. Stock, like stocks and bonds, S-T-O-C-K. The parent or progenitor is the stock. The progeny or generation of that stock, which is the children that are the offspring, those are called the race. So you are the race of your parents. A pedigree is stock or a line of ancestors or people that came before you and predated you, like your mothers, grandmothers, great-great-grandmothers. A pedigree is the stock or line of ancestors from which one group descends. And when you look at this whole tribal thing that was going on in Rome, they know from where they descend and what their stock is. So stop trying to claim to be something that you're not a part of. You're not a part of their stock, And, even if they've grafted in, which we know they did, they tapped into our bloodline so that they can claim certain things and claim certain rights, because they can say, oh, well, I'm part, if you go and look at the reservation now, you see a bunch of Europeans saying they're the original. We're the first people. We're the first people. I have a brother, man, that works in New York City. He was a high school math instructor. And as a high school math instructor, in a school where I think he was like the only melanin-rich teacher at the whole dang school, but he taught high school mathematics. Most of the staff was European and other race. Most of the students were melanin-rich, just like us. But he walked into a history class one day, and the European teacher was standing up there telling the melanin-rich students in the class that the Europeans were the first peoples of America, that they were the first people here. And he was just like, oh, my God. He was just stunned. He didn't even know what to say. He was like, Yaffa, these people are rewriting history. They're teaching our children lies. Well, that's not new. But the fact is, they were able to tap into the bloodline, and now they can claim that they're us, and they can sit on the land on these concentration camps called reservations all day long and say that they're you when they're not you either. But the people that are currently getting a grab hold back on everybody, they're angry with them too, because they remember who they were and how they thought they got away. It's like, how dare you think you're going to get away from the crown heads of Europe and the heads of the church? It's not going to happen. Now, there's something here, and I need to read this to you. It was something that I got about Judaism. I was trying to finish telling you guys about Judaism being a temporary dispensation. And it says, Judaism was a temporary dispensation, which means license to do what is forbidden by laws or canons, or license to omit something which is commanded. By that they mean the exemption of a particular person from the obligation to comply with its injunctions. The Pope has power to dispense with canons of the church, but he has no right to grant dispensations to the injury of a third person, and that's exactly what they've done. He has allowed these people to go around the whole planet damaging everybody, and from what I recall, the Scots were amongst some of the first people that they did this craziness to. If you pissed them off, you were lucky if you got banished. That was getting off easy, okay? If they banished you to Ulster, you were no longer classified or considered a Scot. Now you were called an Irish. That's almost like saying, you were an American, and once you became enslaved, now you're a Negro. These people, everybody across the racial divide across this planet has to start looking back into the history so they can trace where this madness came from. And I'm telling everybody all around the place, all around the earth, that this stuff came from these inbred people in what you call Rome that scattered out, and now they're called Egyptians, now they're called Palestinians, now they're called Arabs, now they're called American Indians, now they're called Jews, and a lot of other things. They have strategically infiltrated every faction of everyone's heritage and clearly put themselves into the pot. Like my sister, Lady All, ex-sheriff deputy from L.A., she says a lot of these people are what she calls, and I like her definition, she calls them GIs. They're government-issued indigenous people. The government has classified all of these, what is the word I'm looking for, invaders or from foreign lands that are paler than the people that they found there, some of whom got on board with the culture that they got into because they liked it better, and some of them were just there to destroy and create conflict where there should have been none. But she calls these people GI, government issued. I mean, they're not real. They're just claiming to be the real. And everywhere, even in Hawaii, you have these pale-skinned people claiming that they're the original people and got some whole other attitude if there are any melanin-rich people even left back there. I'm going to ask again, does anybody have any questions? All right, cool. Now, it goes on to say that, still reading on Judaism and the dispensation, the distribution of good and evil, natural or moral, in the divine government. Now, if you guys look up, and let me see if I can find what it's called. They're not going to leave it there long, probably because I'm going to say something about it. And, you know, I don't buy into a whole lot of everything that's said on Wikipedia, but every now and then you can get some tidbits of truth. There is a term called, oh, God, what is this term called? Give me a minute, because I want you guys to look into it, because what I want you to see when I give you this term is just how much the Roman Catholic churches own. They have ownership in every single country on this globe. These inbred people that I'm telling you about, they have their hand and their foot in everything. Now, they have what you call crossover holdings, meaning the jurisdictions sort of blend in certain places. But what I figured out is basically they own the people more than they own the land. All right, now I'm still trying to find that. I'm scrolling through my, what do you call this stuff when you have these bookmarks? Hopefully it'll come up. Divine government. Check out the definition of divine. Divine, a god coinciding in origin with Deus. Deus means devil or demon, but it goes on to say Latin divinus or divus, pertaining to the true God, pertaining to false gods. Now, this is the definition of divine that I want you guys to commit to memory. A man skilled in divinity, a theologian, a minister of the gospel, a priest, foreboding, prescient, and presageful. Now, check out the definition of Deus, because this is what divine means. This is Deus's government of demonocracy. Deus, spelled D-E-U-S, and also spelled D-U-S-E, means a demon or evil spirit. It also means animal excitement, temper, or disposition. Now, these are the people that are currently misruling the whole damn planet, and they are over this Roman Catholic demonocracy. They're over the Presbyterians, the Methodists, the Protestants, the Baptists, the Judeo-Christians, Judaism, Hebrew Israelites, Episcopalians, the Mohammedism. All of your religions are under this nonsense. And it's okay if you want to stay in the religion, because I know people are going to say, well, my church is not like that. Maybe your church is not like that, but they own the people. All these churches have these 501c3s. You are under the jurisdiction of the Pope. Your priest or pastor is under the jurisdiction of the Pope. Not all of them, but many of them are Masons. Not every single one, but the vast majority of them are Masons. And if they didn't know the truth, they're finding out the truth. Some of them are beginning to tell, and many of them are not telling the people anything at all about what they need to know in regards to who we are and where a lot of the problems are coming from. Does anybody have a question? And I'm still trying to find this link so I can give it to you guys so you can go see just how much the church, the Vatican owns. They own more than I would like them to. Is this it here? Yeah, here it is. Look up this word. It's spelled A-U-T-O, C like Charles, E, P like Paul, H, A, L like Larry, Y. That means the self-head, autocephaly, A-U-T-O-C-E-P-H-A-L-Y. When you get a chance to go check that out, then you'll get a chance to see just how deep this Roman Catholicism ownership of the planet goes. And they were able to do that because they had these inbred children and inbred offspring, a lot of whom are not sane, go around the world and commit the most horrendous, vile acts of trauma and infliction of pain on the people everywhere they went, especially against the children. They went around the world and they tried to fracture everybody's minds because their minds are fractured. If I'm lost, I'm going to try to see to it that you get lost too. So if we don't get a grip and a clue about who we are and stop arguing and disagreeing and being in discord as a people, as humanity, as a country, and, you know, unfortunately the Americas have become a very multiracial, multicultural pot, and it is not because of what people think. It is because a lot of people have actually come here and tapped into the American bloodline. Now, again, if they're on some denial about who they are, they really don't matter. We need to be more concerned about those individuals that are on board, because it's like a brother told me years ago, you know, Yaffa, you are worried about your people. These people are not your people. I said, man, they're just not knowing. Just because they don't know doesn't mean that I should consider that they're not my people. He's like, no, I don't care what they're talking about or what they look like. It ain't even about what they look like. If they are not on the same page as you are, they are not your people. I don't care if they're your bloodline individual that you were born into. If they are on some whole other shit, they are not your people. Your people are people that think like you and want to see the same. Everybody has some liberation and freedom to move and be and think without being traumatized as everybody else. If they're not on that, we need to free ourselves and get from under the yoke of these people that are crazy. Whatever they look like, they're not your people. And the brother is much, you know, and I get sisters telling me that, and it's like, Yaffa, you keep trying to save the world. I would love to save the world, but I can't save a world that don't want to be saved. I can't even save people that are in my own bloodline, my own so-called, what y'all call a family. People think I'm crazy. They don't want to hear anything I have to say. And I'm going to tell you this, a lot of people that are awake, aware, and so-called conscious, I'm checking them out. They ain't awake, aware, and conscious either. Because I'm watching what you're doing. If you believe that you're awake, aware, and conscious, and you believe that people are being starved, people are being murdered, people are being abused, misused, mistreated, fraudulently set up, people are being lied on, children are being kidnapped, raped, murdered, molested, eaten, drank, and bled for blood to drink. If you see that, and yet, what's up? And yet you don't try to make moves in the direction of liberating all of us from it, you're not awake. And I know people that are on this whole, we need to get our own stuff, but I don't see them moving to get our own stuff. I see people, you know, building carports and putting on roofs and repaving concrete and redoing bathrooms and buying, you know, brand new appliances. And I'm like, wow. I look at some of the money that people spend on some of this stuff, and I'm thinking, even a fraction of that could have bought some kind of piece of land so we can get liberated from these people. And I'm going to say, no disrespect to my melanin-rich people, there are Europeans that are moving faster on the shit that I'm saying than you guys are. And you would think that they'd have a problem with it. Unlike my people, a lot of them have the sense to sit down and hear you out. Now, if they just straight crazy, they could be agents, but a lot of them are like, you know, wait a minute, hold up, whoa. Let me look into that. Let me see if there's some truth to that. She might be on to something. A lot of Europeans are out there buying up land like nobody's business, trying to get off the grid. I had sent a brother to my website, and I guess he doesn't use Google. He uses some whole other search engine. And whatever search engine it was, it brought up all kind of websites. And he's like, Yaffa, you know, I'm looking at your page, but this is some European's website. I'm like, no. He's like, yeah, it is. And I said, well, there are some people that have stuff out there, you know, on their websites about what I said as far as words and stuff. He's like, man, these people have a whole website. They set up a whole community in the UK somewhere. They bought land. They're getting off the grid, and they have a whole page of you, something that they copied and pasted off of your website and put on there. And it's like, man, what's wrong with my folks? Maybe, like everybody says, maybe they ain't my folks. You know, maybe they're not my folks. Now, we are going to have to resurrect this thing, I guess, as the sisters, because most of the sisters that I talk to across the board are on the whole, man, we need to get some land and get from up under these people. We need to get some land and grow our food and grow our own food and get off grid and get separate, because these people are crazy. They're killing our children. And I have a lot of sisters that don't have any children. Most of my sisters have never had any children. And they're still crying for babies that they don't even have. But what about brothers? Check out what brothers will say. Oh, man, well, that ain't mine. Shit, mine. I would mine as. That ain't my child. I ain't concerned about it. My niggas is at home. The average brother, and I'm not saying all brothers, but the average male, and it's just a male thing, if you are not their child, they don't give a damn for the most part. Sisters, they don't care if you're their child or not. Their whole thing is, it could be my child, it could be my brother, it could be my father. Hell, it could have been me as a child. It could be your son. So they are heartfelt about our brothers and sisters that are suffering in the street, while brothers are like, well, I got mine, man, you get yours. I got to look out for my homies. And I'm saying I had a bunch of brothers that got together, and they were doing a whole lot, and they were concerned about the homies. And I'm like, well, you know, you brothers are great and all that, but unless you're getting ready to erect something with just your homies and maybe your immediate family and not think about no sisters whatsoever, I guess y'all finna make more babies amongst yourselves, you and your homies, or maybe you're going to have some more children with your children because you're not even thinking about trying to bring sisters into nothing. They're so busy trying to keep the sister out on the whole, well, when we figure it out, we'll let y'all know. No, you can't figure it out without us, and we can't figure it out without you. And quiet as it's kept, the Europeans that are sick of it, they can't figure it out without us either. So unless and until we decide that we're going to unify and get off of this, man, I'm conscious. If you still belong to a church and you still belong to a temple and you still buying real deep into some kind of religious dogma and some kind of religious belief system and you can't hear past your prophet, then you are not awake at all. You're waking up, but you're not awake yet, because people that are conscious and awake, I don't care what your race is, I don't care what your age is, I don't care what your gender is. If you're awake, you stepped away from all of them religions. Every single religion is a problem to you if you're awake, because you're awake enough to see them all for what they are, traps to keep you mentally stuck and lead you astray, which is what these people were exactly supposed to do, and they're doing a grand and wonderful job of it. Now, there are some other things that I want to share. I was going back to that whole Ammonite thing. When you talk about the Holocaust, listen to this definition of Holocaust. A sacrificial offering to consume the offering, usually a child, by fire. Holo means whole, and cost means burnt or to burn. Now, this thing at Bohemian Grove where the owl is, that's like a tophet. It's spelled T-O-P-H-E-T. It's a pit, a burning pit to sacrifice children in a burning sacrifice. Now, Moloch, spelled M-O-L-O-C-H, also spelled M-O-L-E-C-H, also spelled M-A-L-C-H-A-M. Now, C-H-A-M is Cam and Chem, like chemistry, Camites, Camoria. Mal is another way of saying bad. So Malcam is bad Cam. These are people that have been bred too heavy. It's also spelled Milcom, M-I-L-C-O-M, but it means Melech, M-E-L-E-K-H, which means king. Now, to me, it's too close to the word Malcolm for me. However, the word Moloch comes from the word molo, which means to molest. To molest. It means to diminish, to lessen, to trouble, grind, break, burden, and reduce. That's what it means. Now, another word for Moloch is Ammon. Now, these people that are worshipers of Moloch, or what some people call Amen, or Amen, that you say after every single prayer. And this is what I keep telling people. Melanin-rich people have the power to create this mess, destroy it, or stop it. You cannot stop what you don't see. You cannot stop what you're not aware of. So I'm trying to get you guys aware of just some basic concepts, like the goddamn English language. I don't know a lot, but I can get you guys clear on some of these little concepts. Now, once you get clear, you can start moving forward. Now, check out the word Heber for you Hebrew Israelites. Heber, spelled H-E-B-E-R. Now, a Heb is also a child that's not a small child, but maybe like a teenager, 13, 14, 15. There are people that are Hebophiles. They're child molesters, but they don't like them real little, and they don't want them of age. They just want them kind of in between somewhere. They're called a Hebophile. But a Heber is another way of saying Hebrews, okay? An eponym, the word Hebrew, is an eponym, which means a real or imaginary person from whom a people is said to take its name, giving a name. So this term Hebrew may very well have been invented and created for you guys, because we don't know about this Bible either. Who rewrote that? I'd say the same agents that infiltrated half these temples and stuff are the same agents that rewrote the Bible. Yes, it started out as our scrolls. They got a hold of our scrolls. But once they rewrote them, it was some whole other stuff. And I guarantee it was done to mislead you. Now, this term Jacob, which is supposed to be the father of the Hebrew Israelites, the word Jacob means prevailing with God, but it also means supplanter. So if you're a Hebrew Israelite, who and what have you supplanted? Which means you're probably not a Hebrew Israelite, because if you were, you'd be doing the supplanting as opposed to being the supplanted, if that makes any sense. Northern Kingdom of Israel. Does anybody have a question yet? Because I don't want to just keep going on and on. I know somebody's got something to ask or say.
Yeah, so you have a call at 9371. You want to take it?
Sure. Bring the call in.
Peace. How you doing?
Marvelous. How are you doing?
I'm loving the show. I'm dying laughing over here because you're cutting with the truth. You're cutting like a two-edged sword. You know what I'm saying? I just sent a text to your landline. I thought it was your cell phone, but it went to your landline. This is Noble Pop. And you are dead on point. You're right on point, and some of them can't handle the truth, you know what I mean? But they have to wake up, you know? And indeed, when I was speaking about the American, or the definition of the word American, which is actually a noun that's in the Webster Unabridged Dictionary of 1923 and 1928, when it said that it was dealing with the copper tone or the copper color race that was, or the Aboriginals who was over here indigenous to the Americans, found by the Europeans, who actually used the term American to the descendants that are born in America today. So they actually supplanted. Once again, they took the name of American, which is actually Meru, which was going back to Washington. And with that, I say peace.
Peace. Thanks for the comment. Great. That was fabulous.
Keep doing what you're doing. I'm loving it.
Well, thanks. I'm not trying to insult my people. I know some people are insulted because the information I give people, when they go look it up, they be like, God dang, how in the hell did they trick me like that? How did I fall for this? I've seen people go through all kind of phases of awakening. I've seen people get depressed. I've seen people break down and cry in front of me. We're sitting up looking in dictionaries. I'm showing stuff, and they break down and start crying because they feel like they've been had and they've been duped. And then I have people that get angry and they go into rage and they lash out at me. It's like, hey, I didn't make this stuff up. It's not my books. I'm just showing you what they have in their dictionaries. It's not me talking. But here's the definition of Ammonites. Did you say something? You want to say something?
Yeah, you have another call in at 3468. You want to take it?
Sure. Bring the caller in.
Okay. 3468, you're on the air.
Hey, peace, Yaffa. This is 50.
Peace, 50. How are you? Oh, hi.
Hey, how you doing? All right, we still need to get back down. We need you to come back down here to L.A. still. Come back. But my question is, you spoke on dogma religions, and I had a question about atheism. Atheists.
What is the question about it?
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Are you asking me what it is, or you had a specific question about atheists? An atheist is someone that... Go ahead.
Well, my thing is, like, because, there's a lot of people out there that don't really get into dogma religion, so they say that they're atheists, or they just say that they don't believe in the God that else believe in. So what's the difference from them calling themselves atheists and just not, being part of the religion? Or,
those people are not, they're probably not atheists. The definition of
Right.
atheist, and I'm just shooting off memory here, the definition of atheist is one that hates the Creator. You know what I'm saying? Or is anti the whole belief system. They're probably agnostic. And agnostic, which is spelled agnostic, is someone that, hey man, I don't know what to think. You know, it all sounds good and everything, but I'm not buying it. But I'm not sure. I don't know what to think. You know, the jury's still out for me. That's an agnostic. They're not trying to take one side or the other. They're not buying into it wholeheartedly, and they're not rejecting it wholeheartedly. They just don't know what the truth is, so they're still looking. That's an agnostic.
Right.
Somebody's like, oh, hell with God, hell with Creator, hell with church, and fuck the Lord. And, you know, that's an atheist.
Right.
They're anti.
So that would explain why a lot of old people are atheists, because they hate the Creator. They hate, you know, the original person, the original man, and all that stuff. Right.
Was that a question? Say that again.
Yeah. I said the reason why that would explain why when I run into a lot of, you know, Albions or fellow people, whoever you want to call them, they're atheists because they're mad at the Creator. So that would explain
No, actually, they're not atheists. And, you know, actually, I might be wrong. Atheist is somebody that doesn't believe. That's right. They don't believe in the Creator. My bad.
Okay.
An atheist does not believe in any kind of Creator. An agnostic doesn't know what to believe. These people that you're talking about are probably Satan. They're adversarial to the Creator. They've taken direct opposition to the Creator. And they have to have taken opposition to the Creator because you've gone all over the world destroying all of Creator's creation, from the trees to the flowers to the bees and creatures, from birds and worms and ants, you know, whales, dolphins. I mean, pick a thing, anything, things that walk and things that don't walk, things that crawl and things that walk, you know, that are on the surface of the land, things that bury holes below the land, and things that are underwater. These people are trying to destroy all of creation. They're anti. They have enmity, and they're odious, and they have straight hatred for the Creator, which is not the same as an atheist. An atheist does not believe in the Creator. Doesn't mean they necessarily hate the Creator. They just don't believe in any kind of Creator. But someone that is adversarial and has taken up direct opposition and is purposefully trying to destroy everything the Creator created, that's somebody that has taken a satanic position against the Creator. And they always say, forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. That's bullshit. Do not forgive them because they know exactly what they're doing.
Right. Okay, that was the only question I had. I just wanted to see if you could clarify that for me better, since you're good with,
Thank you for the question, sweetie.
I appreciate
the call. You're welcome.
Right. Peace.
Peace. Is that it on the question?
Yes, that's the last call so far.
Okay. Ammonite. An Ammonite is a worshipper of Ammon, Ammon. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people are going to go, but what about Amenhotep and what about Amun-Ra? How much do you know, really, about that stuff, and how much do you know about the accuracy of the information? Because you have to remember, the same inbred tribe, these tribal, and tribal means inbred and incested out. These same individuals, I think Egypt was one of the first places they hit when they started to the melanin-rich cultures, you know what I'm saying? But when they started on their own, I think it was probably Scots and these other kind of people that they started with first, German, Scots, and the whole 9 yards. But the Ammonites, it says, were worshippers of Ammon, which in Roman, that would be Jupiter, and in Greek, that would be Zeus, okay? And it goes on to say, classical name, Ammon. Ammon is the classical name of the Egyptian deity Amen, whom the Greeks identified with Zeus and the Romans identified with Jupiter, the ancient country of the Ammonites east of the Jordan River. Now, this is the thing. We don't know if, in fact, it was melanin-rich people in Egypt that had inbred to the point of getting crazy and practicing this behavior, or if it was the invaders from Rome that came in and started this nonsense. But I'm thinking, and I need to go back and listen to Horace Butler's interview, I think he was saying something about the brothers that came over here and set up Tamari and their type of religious practices that they didn't want to expose everybody else that was already here to, because they didn't think the people would go for it. I'm wondering if that was this Ammonite type of religion. But it goes on to say, Ammon is the ancient country of the Ammonites east of the Jordan River. Now, Ammonian goes into from Ammon or Haman, a title of Jupiter, or rather of the sun. Ham or Kama, which is a verb, as a verb, signifies to heat or to warm, and as a noun, heat or the sun. And in Arabic, it means the supreme God. Pertaining to Jupiter, Ammon or his temple, and worship in Upper Egypt. Now, again, we do not know for sure. I do not know for sure. Maybe some Egyptologists can come with it. I do not know for sure if these people were just inbred to the point that they snapped also, or if it was the infiltrators that usurped them and took their identity like they've usurped us and took our identity, like they've gone around the world and usurped everybody. Everywhere you go, these foreigners are claiming to be the original and first people everywhere on in the planet, and they're not the first people anywhere on the planet, except maybe where they started a lot of their inbreeding with that nonsense. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with the synagogue of Satan. Satan worship, or satanic worship, is supposed to be a big secret. And I'm exposed to you guys what it is because it's no longer a secret. I'm calling them out, okay? I'm putting it on the front burner that these people are so inbred that they have lost their minds, okay? Now, if you inbreed or whatever, if you don't go too long, too far, then it's all right. And I don't know how people saw this horrible movie that Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry got behind with the sister. What was the name of this movie? Whatever it was some movie about some sister that to me, they're portraying, as Bobby Hemmett would say, trying to make the melanin-rich woman look like she's a horrible example of motherhood or womanhood. But in this movie, there was a sister who became hateful of her daughter because her daughter had been molested by her own father from infancy. She woke up one night, the mother did, and the father, the baby was in the bed with the mother and the father. She woke up one night, and the father was molesting the baby, who was too little to even crawl yet. This is a baby that couldn't even crawl yet. Now, that is not our culture. Between that and some of these other movies they're putting out here trying to make us look like a savage people, it's kind of bothering me. I can't remember the name of the flick, but if you notice in that flick, her first child that was inbred had this whole Mongolism or Asian type look to it, and it was sort of pale in color. So if you start inbreeding and you do it too long, now if she'd had a child with that child, or the children would have had children together, then you start creating a far more deranged individual that is no longer the original people, no longer the people that people are calling white people. They're not any of us anymore. They are something else altogether different. They're a completely separate entity sitting out there. But I can't think of what this movie was god dang called. I got to work on my memory thing. Anyway, Ammon, what I want you guys to know about this here is Ammon was an Egyptian god, says see Ammon. It was a marauding, nomadic tribe with seldom a peaceful interlude, and they were hostile to the Hebrews. Now, I don't even know who is who, and I think that's part of why they do that. They come up with all this confusion, but it goes on to say that Ammon is originally the local god of Thebes. Thebes, Thebes, represented as a ram, or as a man with a ram's head, or as a man with two high feathers as an emblem of his royalty on his head, with a scepter in his hand and one of them, probably a double cross in the other hand. But it goes on to say the divine triad of Thebes was Ammon, his wife Mut, which was the mother, or I don't know how to pronounce it, Mut, M-U-T, and his son, Chumsu, C-H-U-M-S-U. Huh? Say that again. Okay. Somebody out there has feedback, and it would be lovely if you would mute your phone. Okay, it goes on to say, his high priest was a figure of importance. Now, this is important to know. The oracle at Siwa, S-I-W-A, was famous among the Greeks. And I'm beginning to think that was one of the Sibyllines, or what they call the oracle of Delphi, but I can't, I'm still looking to look into that. But it goes on to say his solar character was allied with Amun-Ra. Now, there were a set of fates, okay? The fates, F-A-T-E, which in Latin would be fatum, F-A-T-U-M, is from the word for, F-O-R, and from the word fori, F-O-R-I, and it means to speak, primarily a decree or word pronounced by God. Now, I'm perceiving that this was words pronounced by the Sibyls. Now, it says that, hence, inevitable necessity finally events death or destruction. Now, there were 3 of these so-called fates that are supposed to have presided over the birth and life of men. But the fates, or was it the Sibyls, somebody was overthrown by some patriarchy nonsense. Now, how many people saw this movie Star Wars, and they were talking about Darth Vader? Vader is another way, I think that's a German word for father, which the Pope is the Pontifex Maximus, or the papa of that state and that whole inbred tribe that comes back to that state when they need some direction, because they know who they are. The rest of the world doesn't know who they are. And they are out here living amongst us when their whole get-down is about incest, about blood drinking, about cannibalism, about child molesting, and the whole night, and about sodomy. It's nonsense. And all I'm trying to do is wake you guys up about it. But the word father is the word pay, P-A-Y. It's also the word P-A-I. It's the word Vader, Vater, V-A-T-E-R. It's the word fetter, like federation. That's F-E-D-E-R, F-O-E-D-E-R. And it means the begetter, he who begets a child. In Latin, it's the genitor or generator, which is the appellation of an old man. He who creates, invents, composes, or contrives, founds, or adopts anything. A father is defined as a contriver. Well, hell, a contriver is an inventor or who plans or devises. A contriver is a schemer. The word father means schemer or contriver. I'm just trying to, help you guys know how jacked up this language is. We're trying to speak to one another in a language that isn't even ours at all. A begetter is a father. A federation is a group of accomplices. Remember, feder is also father. So a federation is a league of fathers. And it says a group of accomplices, a league, an assembly. It is a synagogue. A synagogue is an assembly. The court of the 70 elders among the Jews called the Great Synagogue. It also means to drive together. Well, doesn't the Holy Bible talk about this synagogue of Satan, all these demons that are trying to deceive the whole world about who they are, and how the whole world would buy into them and follow them except the very elect? It says that Satan would deceive the whole world except the very elect if it were possible. No, even the very elect if it was possible. Well, there's only one religion and its little subdivisions, which is Catholicism, better known as Christianity, and its subdivisions of Protestantism, Methodism, Baptism, Judaism, Islamism. All of these are little sub-pockets under that nonsense. So if you understand that this is all the minions in the synagogue that are trying to turn people out and get them all screwed up about who they are and what they are and who's important and what beauty is and what beauty is not, and this whole night. They are feeding you hook, line, and sinker, and we're consuming it and we're following it, and it's not our story. It's not even our get down. Now, Moloch, in one of my sister's dictionary, said something different. Her dictionary, because we're still talking about the synagogue of Satan. It's all about burning these children. Moloch, also known as Molech and Molech, is a deity worshipped by sacrificing children, or the sacrifice of children being committed by their own parents. And the child is thrown into a pit or a tophet and burned whole. This is how they started with their own, because they're just that crazy. So if they don't care nothing about theirs, you shouldn't expect them to care anything about yours. Okay? Now, understand, if you have a Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, I want you to see this for yourself, because you need to see it for yourself in order for you to follow it. Otherwise, you're going to think that I'm making this up. The word Amen is Hebrew word number 5983 in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, and it's from the Hebrew word 5971. It's spelled A-M-M-O-W-N, and it means tribal. By that we mean inbred. That's exactly what it says. Ammon is a son of Lot, his posterity, and their country. Now, that is supposed to be the people that are supposed to have created these people called Moabites. And we have a lot of melanin-rich people running around here saying that they're Moabites. I've said it before, but sometimes some things need bear repeating. So comprehend that you are not these types of things. Did anybody have a question before I go on? Is that a no? Okay.
So somebody asked a question in the chat room, but it's about like fourth dimension, and are we going to be able to go to fifth dimension?
Oh, absolutely. If you're an individual, if you're ready to get into dimensional work, I'm going to give you one of the scholars that you should try. You should start looking for his information if you're ready. Don't get out there and you just jumped out the church or jumped out the temple and you don't even know what words mean. You don't even know that the word black means white or that nice means stupid. If you don't know that, you are not ready. However, if you're ready, you should start looking into Brother Panic and getting some of the literature that he's giving for you to study. That's only if you're ready. Now, if you're scared of power and you're on some, oh, that's witchcraft, magic, and voodoo, and the Bible says you're not supposed to do this, and the Bible says that you're not supposed to do that, then stay away from that. Does that answer the question?
Yes. And somebody asked, did you say Amen is a Hebrew word? Amen.
Amen, A-M-M-O-N. I think that was what it is when I said Hebrew word is in the Hebrew portion of the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. Okay? It's in the Hebrew portion of the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. And it's word number 5983 in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance. I don't know if that answered the question or not. That is so that people that have a concordance can actually go look and see it for themselves. Otherwise, it just sounds like I'm making stuff up. Because people are like, she sounds like she's crazy. She sounds like she's racist. She sounds like she's, anti the religion. I'm not anti anything or anybody. I believe in right use of will. Do what works for you. As long as you're not molesting children and animals, I don't care what you do. I don't care how many orgies you have. I don't care how gay you are. I don't care how many wives you have, how many husbands you have. I could care less as long as you're not hurting somebody else, and particularly children and animals.
Well, there's no more questions in the chat room, so you can continue with the lecture.
I wouldn't call it a lecture. It's just, me trying to give people a little bit of information about some of this stuff. I'm getting blown up over here on my phone.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Oh, no.
Okay, now how many people
that's one of the questions that they ask. So this isn't a fair everybody wondering who it is. Nova is here, but she's not doing a host tonight. I am. So be patient, and all your questions will be answered.
To the best of my sister's ability, how many people have ever seen what they call the double cross? The cross that has a longer arm at the bottom and a shorter arm at the top. Matter of fact, they're all up and down the street. Aren't those what most of the telephone poles used to look like in a lot of cities? They have these telephone poles that look like double crosses all up and down the street. That thing is called a patriarchal cross. And patris, P-A-T-R-E-S, is a title of Roman senators. As you know, the word pater means father. Patron means father. Among Romans, it is a master who had freed his slaves, but, now listen to this, but retained some rights over the slaves after their emancipation. And that's not just us. This is what they've done to people all over the planet, all kinds of colors in the rainbow. It's not about, they did this to so-called black folks. No, they did this to all these folks. Everywhere they went, they started traumatizing people, killing people's children, molesting people's children, bringing people's children into their little schools and turning them out. You know, telling them, we're the missionary and we're the nuns and we're the priests and this is the church, and everybody goes, oh, they're good people. No, they're not good people. Not when you know how it all began and where it came from. It is one whole state of one whole family of inbred people, and that's their culture and that's their lifestyle and that's how they get down. And they call it the Roman Catholic Church in Rome. And the Pontifex Maximus is the father over all of the other fathers, and they've all practiced incest so deep that they are all related to one another by blood now, because they've inbred to that point. And they sent their brethren and their children around the world to conquer. And they don't care, and they didn't care what color the skin was when they started, because they started out with people that looked just like them. But they weren't them, because you're not a part of our little inbred group. So no matter what you think you are and how white you think you are, a lot of these people are following secret societies and following organizations and following churches that are all about this incestual get-down of taking everybody else down and bringing everyone else into their game by leading you astray just so they can prove a point, which is we can make them turn out crazy too. And it's working. They use things like color to make people fight amongst themselves so that they don't unify against their inbred asses. They use things like money. Okay, if we can't convince you to go in and do what you do to these people based on your skin color, then maybe we can pay you. You know, we'll wave enough money at you and you do whatever we want. Well, if that don't work, then we'll threaten you, you know, or we'll just straight out kill you. They're inbred enough and crazy enough to do this, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Now, a father is a master who has released his slaves but retained some rights over them after their emancipation, or apparent emancipation. That's why I was telling people, don't fall for the United Nations hype either. All of it is a game, because the Europeans dropped the ball. They didn't listen to us. They fell for this skin color game, and they let these crazy people that they were running away from use racism to divide them from the very people that had helped liberate them. When we told them, do not let these Catholics into this government we set up for you, they didn't know any better, or they didn't care, or they weren't paying attention, too busy watching us, and they let them inbred crazy folks right on in there, and now everything is out of control. You got men in black running around here pulling people over with no weapons, no identifiable marks on their cars. They have on uniforms with no identification, no badges, no numbers. You don't even know who these people are. We don't know if they're the government or not. You know, they can run up on you with enough guns and go, oh, this is a government facility, and, you know, we're the feds. Just because they look like so-called white men don't make them the feds. But it's easy to get a bunch of guns and get big black cars and look real official without having any identification on you whatsoever to know who. Because there are certain places you can go in the United States and run up on places where people will come up on you with all kind of guns and all in black with black cars looking like they're police and tell you to turn around at gunpoint. And if you don't, you can wind up dead. And I submit to you, they're probably not the government at all. They just have that whole, well, you know, we've done a real good job of making the so-called white man look like the authority figure, and a white man with guns and black on and black car looks like the real feds and the real officials. They could be coming around talking about anything at all, and you think they're official, and they ain't official nothing. They're infiltrators and people that have overthrown the so-called United States corporation in acts of treason. One of the reasons why it's a mess now. Because half the people that are sitting up there in office that are being paid to do a job, they just work for whoever's paying the most money or whoever has them the most afraid, whoever's giving them the biggest threat. Well, you know, and if they don't like it, some of these very same people, when they try to stand up, you find them dead in a dumpster. Or you know, so-and-so, Senator so-and-so, and Congressperson such and such died in a plane crash. Why? Because they starting to remember, wait a minute, hold up. These are the same people that my people try to get away from. They're in control now. I need to put this out. Well, you're not going to put it out because you're a part of the in crowd. If you're a part of the in crowd, you can die for talking. And people that look like us have become a part of this in crowd because they have fallen for the okie doke and they're chasing paper. For the right amount of money, my people will do anything. Turn in anybody. Infiltrate and create all kind of discord and be agents looking like us. Either that or they're catamites that have split personalities and little Manchurian candidates that are grown now. If that ain't the case, then there are people that they're threatening them. If you don't do this, man, you know, we'll do this and that to you. Or better yet, they're making them offers they can't refuse. Well, you know, you have this case, and you know you can spend so many years in prison. If you don't do this, we're just going to lock you up. If you do it, we'll discard the whole case and we'll drop it and the whole thing will disappear. It's like, oh, okay, man, well, okay, fine, I'll infiltrate and I'll tell you everything going on. So I'm saying it's hard to know who's who. Everybody's not us. And I'm saying there are people walking around here that look like people and they're not people. Not only are they not you, they ain't people. And we've all seen them and didn't know what we were looking at. I don't know what the hell they are. I don't know what they are, but they look just like melanin-rich folk, and they look like Europeans, and they're not people at all. You can tell by the way the animals act around them. It ain't because, oh, he's homeless and he stinks. That ain't it. If you have a dog and a cat that starts flipping out around somebody, that's somebody that needs to get the hell away from you and your house and your people. Does anybody else have a question before I go on? Okay. There are a couple of things that people need to know.
What?
Huh?
It won't come off.
What won't come off? Hello? Okay. There's a term that I want to share with you guys that's called carnal. And actually, before I get into that, my sister gave me Lady Ma'at, gave me a word that she got from the master astrologer in Carolina, Lady Sister Myra. And I told her, I said, you know, I like that word. I'm going to have to use it. Got to use it. The word debauchery. A lot of what's going on is debauchery. And it's even, and that's spelled D like David, E, B like boy, A-U, wait, D-E-B, A-U-C-H-E-R-Y, I think. Let me just double check that spelling. Hold that thought. Debauchery. Let me just flip it out real quick and make sure it is here. Debauchery. Excess and it's spelled D-E-B-A-U-C-H-E-R-Y. Excess in the pleasures of the table, gluttony, intemperance, but chiefly habitual lewdness, excessive, unlawful indulgence of lust, corruption of fidelity, seduction from duty or allegiance. Now that is the 1828 definition. And I don't like that definition. The one she gave me was deeper than that, and it probably came out of her Random House. So let me look in my Random House real quickly so you guys can have, because I want you guys to start calling things what they are. We're too busy coming up with words for things that are wrong, and it needs to be clarified what these words really do mean so that when you start talking, you're making sense to yourself and everybody else, whether they get it or not. Debauchery, excessive indulgence in sensual pleasures, and temperance. Seduction from duty, allegiance, or virtue. Well, that's what we've done. We've become seduced away from what we're supposed to be in allegiance with and in allegiance to. I did some research, and I have to do more research, but I found out basically that the synagogue and cult of Satan was revived during the reign of Louis the 13th in France. So people might want to do more looking into that. But this term carnal, which made me think of debauchery. When you do things that are carnal, that's what's getting you messed up. Those are the things that are against the Creator. Carnal, spelled C-A-R-N-A-L, which is a Latin word caro, like Caro syrup, C-A-R-O. It means flesh, grossness of mind, to be unregenerate. It is greatly destroying men, havoc, massacre, slaughter, debase, enmity, which is hatred against Creator, turning to flesh, and flesh means that which is reddish-white in color. That's what being carnal is, and that's supposed to be the whole sin about being too carnal. And a lot of our people tried so hard to get in where they could fit in that they have completely lost their copper coloring. You know, we still know who you are. Just be aware. There are a couple of words, and I did it again. I'm going to run out of time to give you guys this list of, what do you call these people? Scholars, but I'll get around to it hopefully next week. The word Arab means ambush. In Hebrew, it means ambush, Arab. Now, a lot of these people that are fighting in a lot of these places, I'm starting to wonder if these fights are taking place in the order in which they came out. Now, look at this definition of demon. Demon is an evil passion or influence. A person, now this is a demon, a person considered extremely wicked or cruel. Demon also means to distribute man. Now that's deep, to distribute man. Well, if you were into eating men and eating children, well, then I guess so. Just go around the world, split everything up, pass it around, and see what you can do. Now, you remember I was saying earlier about Damien being born of a jackal? Here's a definition for jackal. A jackal is a person who performs menial, degrading, base, dishonest deeds and tasks for another or for his own gain. A rogue. That's what a lot of the agents are. They're jackals. A lot of people that look like you that are infiltrating and stuff, they're jackals. Now, there's some words that I wanted you guys to get and have, but let me see if I can find them. Here we are. Yeah, I got enough time. These are the words I want you guys to start getting clearer on when you're trying to describe the handful of Europeans that mistreat you, because they're not all the same. Some of them are not inbred and crazy, okay? And I want you to stop giving the word racism and white supremacy much power. These words are better for describing them. The word bigot is one who blindly and unreasonably attaches or weds themselves to a particular religious creed, practice, ritual, or opinion. A hypocrite. A bigot is someone that is firm and undaunted in their position. Now, a lot of our people that you know in these temples, churches, and everywhere else are bigots. They're so firm in their belief system and blindly following it that they ain't going nowhere. They're bigots. So I want you to be clear on what words mean so you don't call people things that really don't fit and don't apply. Bias. The word bias is to use shifts, like shifty eyes, shifts, evasions, or tricks. It is a leaning of the mind, an inclination, prepossession, or that which causes the mind to lean or incline from a state of indifference to a particular course or object. So we should be trying to be more indifferent. But what's happening is our people have been biased to lean one way or another, and which these other people that you guys are calling racist are biased. They're leaning one way or another as opposed to being neutral and indifferent and seeing what's really going on. It's about leaning your mind or being inclined to a particular course or object, to warp or incline to one side. To give a particular direction of mind is to be biased. Now, prejudice is defined as an opinion or a decision of mind formed without due examination of the facts or without due examination of the arguments, which are necessary in order for one to form a just and impartial determination. That's what the word prejudice means. Now, rude means crude, of coarse manners, unpolished, ignorant, inelegant, broken, rough, and harsh. A lot of the people that you're calling racist are rude, or they're prejudiced, or they're biased, or they're bigoted, but they're not necessarily racist. Now, my sister, Lady Ma'at, she thinks there's no such thing as prejudice. Her thing is you cannot be prejudiced. You either judge or don't judge. You cannot prejudge. And if you're judging, you're not prejudging. You're in the moment of judging in the now. So I feel her. She's accurate on that part, too. But I wanted to give you guys the dictionary definition of the word. Cynical. Now, a lot of the people that you guys have encountered are these last three I'm getting ready to give you now. Cynical, or a cynic, is somebody that is surly, snarling, and having the qualities of a surly dog. A man of canine temper. Canine and Canaan and Canis, which is reddish-white in color. It's one with contempt for riches, sciences, arts, and amusement. A misanthrope, or a hater of people. Now, that is what a lot of these people are. And one of the reasons they got sick on us is because they felt that we had too much all around the world. These people are too rich, and they're too flossy, and they're too showy, and they have too much. They had a problem with it, so they were cynics and cynical. Now, this other one, these last two, another one is crude. Crude means that it is not brought to perfection, unfinished, immature, and not well-formed in the intellect. Some of these people that you're encountering are just straight-out crude, not racist, crude. Then you got people that are bullies. Then you have this last one that's cruel, like Devella de Cruel or Cruella de Vil or whatever with the 1001 Dalmatians or whatever that was. Cruel means disposed to give pain to others in body or mind, pleased and having pleasure to torment. Someone that vexes or afflicts. They are destitute of pity or kindness. They are hard-hearted, and causing pain, grief, or distress is pleasurable for them. That's what these people are. The people that you're encountering that behave like this are not racist. Stop calling them that. Find the word that fits. Oh, you're just rude. You have no home training. Your mom didn't raise you well. Oh, you're just cruel. Or you're cynical, or you're biased, or whatever the case may be. But the system is racist. The individuals just have bad behavior, and they're behaving badly, and you have to call them out on their bad behavior. And you're going to encounter a lot of people that don't fit any of this that look like them because they're probably not them. A lot of people that look like them really aren't them. They haven't gone back far enough in their genetics to find that they're part so-called black or so-called nigger. They're part nigger, but they ain't gone back far enough to find it yet. But a lot of them are so busy trying to look so-called white that they just totally lost their connection. Does anybody have any questions before we close out? Because I'm done because I don't have enough time to say much else.
I don't see any questions in the chat room, so...
any calls?
No. There's no calls as of yet. If anyone in the chat room has any questions, they can call. The number is 323-443-7511. Once again, it's 323-443-7511.
Okay. Well, so they're not calling. I'm gonna reiterate what I want you guys to know, okay? about this whole Roman Catholicism. In order for them, this is how they started out in Rome. In order for them, in Rome, Italy, in the beginning, Italy had a bunch of small little agricultural communities scattered all across the place. The household was the basic religious unit, not the church, the household, okay? Now, in order for them to have perpetuity of their family, the Italian farmer made offerings to the genius, and I read to you earlier, the genius was one of the definitions. A deuce is a genius, for the genius of the family. For the household, he worshipped Vesta, which is the guardian spirit of the hearth fire. Remember, hearth fire is a lot like that whole bonfire that they used to burn these children in. Now, in order to guard the house, they did rituals to Lares, L-A-R-E-S, and Penates, P-E-N-A-T-E-S. In order to guard the door, they did rituals to Janus. Okay, that was for guarding their door. For an abundant harvest, they held 3 principal festivals. In the springtime, they did Cerealia, like cereal. You guys eat cereal for breakfast. They did Cerealia for the spring. And they did that in honor of Ceres. For the summer, they did the festival to Consus, C-O-N-S-U-S, and Ops, O-P-S. In the winter, they did the Saturnalia, where they were supposed to have gotten drunk, had sex with one another, had sex with their children, and beat the holy shit out of their wives. That's why she wasn't participating. So this is what they did. The Saturnalia was done in honor of Saturn, to protect himself, the farmer, from the spirits of his own dead ancestors. He made offerings to Dis, D-I-S, which is the ruler of the underworld, and to the larva, and to the Manes, M-A-N-E-S. Now, to perform these religious functions, the head of the household acted as the priest, and he was assisted by his daughters and sons. That means they were practicing a lot of this sexual shit. Now, the families, these individual households, coalesced together into tribes, which means inbreeds. And then they became a state. The family cult and the family ritual formed the basis of the state cult and the state ritual. This incestuous inbreeding made Rome technically one family by blood. I'm saying it again because I want to make sure you remember forever. And the daughters of these families were called Vestal virgins. Now, the king, which is the chief priest, was the head of the family. The ritual needed to appease gods so that they could be recorded by the colleges, and the Pontifex Maximus, which was the Pope and head father, their president of this state, regulated these state ceremonies and the ceremonial calendar. I want you guys to be real clear on what we're dealing with, who this is, who these people are, and how they went around the world under the Roman Catholic Church and just took over everything and started abusing everyone that was not a part of that little inbred family right there. It ain't about no damn color. It's about you not being a part of their little inbred family bloodline and their little incestual orgies that they have. Is everybody clear? On that note, take us out with Sun Goddess.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, somebody had a question? You got a question or a caller real quick? You only got 2 or 3 minutes.
No, it's no caller. We're going to end the show with Sun Goddess. And I'd like to thank all the callers and listeners that tuned in to Yaffa's show. You have much love in the chat room, Sister Yaffa, and they are very glad that you came and had your say tonight and, clarified a lot of things that were on the listeners' minds. And they really appreciate you, and much love from everyone in the chat room and also the callers.
Much love for listening. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Take what resonates with you, and anything that I'm saying that you ain't buying, just toss it out the window and let it go. Maybe it'll come back later in the future. But I appreciate you listening, and for now, I'll see you guys next Thursday. If you want to tune in at 8 o'clock California, 11 o'clock New York.